What the fuck is a House of Horrors match?
I don't know, Ma. They never had one before.
What are they doing? Going on a date with your ex-girlfriend, Salty?
Oh, Mom.
Wrestling Podcast! Let's get ready to rumble! The cream of the crop! Nobody does it better. The best there is, the best there was, and the best ever will be.
It's time for another wrestling podcast.
Oh my God!
We are taking over.
Drink it in, man.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. And if you're not down with that, then he's got 2 words for you.
When we talk about the legends of the sport, there's only 2 in my book.
AWB, another wrestling podcast.
There's so many wrestling podcasts, right? So it's like, do we just kind of want to jump in and just be another, like, wrestling podcast?
Bada boom! Realest guys in the room! How you doing?
All right. Welcome to another wrestling podcast. This is episode 156. I'm Credo.
I'm Minority Mike.
And naturally, I'm the social assassin, Angry Cooter, at your disposal.
There you go, guys. Each and every week we are doing this here for you and your listening pleasure. But each and every week, it's not just us, guys and girls. It's also guests from the wrestling world, legends of yesterday and today, wrestlers, managers, anybody and everybody stop by AWP, and today is no different. We have straight out of Dudleyville, Sign Guy Dudley. He's actually going to be talking to us, not using any signs. Also, you might remember him as Louis Dangerously in ECW. We're going to talk a lot about ECW, so stay tuned for that one. Guys, I'm sure you remember the Dudleys and Sign Guy, right?
How many Dudleys were there, for God's sake? There was a lot of Dudleys.
There were.
Mom was producing. That mom was producing.
So much stuff's happening in the wrestling world. What is going on with this House of Horrors? Okay, somebody made this match. What's happening here? House of Horrors. What are we going to get out of this House of Horror match? And please, no more projecting worms and roaches and whatever on the ring. It was cool for 5 seconds, and then we realized it didn't do anything. It was over with. But what are we getting out of this House of Horror match? I have no idea what to think about.
You know, I remember back in TNA when Raven had his run with the title. I forget who he was supposed to face, but it ended up being Six-Pac. And they had somewhat of a type of House of Horrors match where they basically put like half of a cage up on like one side of the ring, and there was like weapons and shit hanging from it. But the other thing that comes to mind, Credo, maybe they'll both be going out on a double date with my ex-girlfriend, who we will refer to as Salty. Remember her? Yeah, we're talking about you still to this day, bitch. God damn it, I hate you.
I think of this match and I think of like Halloween Havoc. Spin the wheel, make the deal. And that type of match. This is weird. It really is. I don't know the concept of it. I don't think anybody knows the concept of it. Like, I don't know what to guess. Are they going to be in a haunted house? Is this going to be like one of those like productions outside of the ring where you just watch it? Or is it going to be in the ring? Are they going to decorate the ring like a Halloween themed event? I don't know. I really don't know. This is really weird. This is a pointless match, guys.
I kind of hope they don't do something like a take on the Final Deletion or some shit like that, because that would just be a fucking tragedy.
Well, here with the magic of Google, I did some Googling, and I found something that Edge and Christian talked about, saying that Michael Hayes came up with this idea years ago where they wanted to do something with the Brood against the Hardys, and they say the concept for this House of Horrors match was basically it would be inside of like a funhouse type thing where they have like two-way mirrors, different rooms, and they would fight all the way through it. So that's like a 10-year-old version of it. So I mean, what could we get out of Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton? I mean, now that we have like a little compound, I guess they're trying to copy the Final Deletion. Maybe it'll all just be filmed beforehand. Like, it won't even be a match at the actual show. It'll just be like, I don't know. I feel like they're kind of biting off the broken stuff, but I don't know. House of Horrors, do we need that in a PG environment?
Oh, Jesus. Come on. PG environment. Come on. We're all about the good shit. We want to see good wrestling, and it's okay for someone to slice their head open with a gig once in a while. I'm okay with it, as long as it's not overdone or botched, like some people we know can.
I guarantee you that this match will be on that list of worst matches ever. I guarantee it. With the Punjabi prison match and the Kennel from Hell, let's just get this on the list already.
Right, like the debut of the Shockmaster. It'll be on the that
Shockmaster is something that's always been classic. And that will always be a classic moment in wrestling history. This, however, I don't see it being up to that level.
Well, guys, with so much happening, I think one thing we have to talk about this match with what's going to happen with this, which really just knocks the House of Horrors down a peg even more. Let's get right into the week that was really quick, because something happened this week that kind of makes this match pointless now. So, guys, what I was saying that's making this pointless is that we have a new number one contender for the WWE Championship. Jinder Mahal is going to be fighting Randy Orton at their next pay-per-view for the championship. With that being said, I believe they've taken the championship off this match for that Horrors match, House of Horrors match. So at first we thought we were going to get a Raw versus SmackDown type of a match, to where maybe Bray Wyatt could have brought that WWE Championship over to Raw, but that's not even happening now. So no matter who wins, if it's Bray Wyatt or Randy Orton, it's not for the title. But does that really matter now that we have Jinder Mahal as number one contender?
Oh, I'm just heartbroken, and we'll get into more of this later. This will be the first time somebody's lost a title and is not getting a rematch clause.
You know what? Everybody's complaining about Jinder Mahal. I actually like it. I'm going to see where they go with this. Reason B, I like change. I like when they think outside the box and try something new. Not necessarily it's going to work, but they're actually trying something different. That's why they chose Jinder Mahal, to see where they go with this. Now, I get it. They want to use Jinder Mahal because they're trying to get a demographic in India. They want to get a network deal out there. They want to get some deals out there with the Indian markets. So let's just make an Indian stable. The promo Jinder cut after he won, I thought was fantastic. They can take this ball and go with it. Let's give it a chance. Let's see what happens. I know a lot of people were crying about it. But when they deliver change, it's like, this is what you wanted, so deal with it.
Let me chime in here real quick, because I just got to correct you on something, Mike.
What's up?
Sheamus is the Ginger. His name is Jinder. Just to throw that out there. Quick.
I said Ginger, didn't I?
Yeah, that's great.
It's been a long day. It's
sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Jinder.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right. That being said, again, I do like the idea of this Indian stable. They brought out the Bollywood boys. And you're right. Why do people complain about, oh, we want something new, and we gave you something new this week, and you're crapping on it? But you look at this guy from his first run in WWE now. What we saw him on Twitter last week saying no one's outdoing him in the gym, no one's dieting better than him. The guy looks fantastic. His in-ring work has been very, very good. Let's give this guy a shot. SmackDown is supposed to be the land of opportunity, so they're giving this guy an opportunity. If he falls flat on his face, he falls flat on his face. Maybe you don't know. Maybe something really good can come out of this.
No, yeah, and I think we're all in agreement that this is it was a gem in disguise, if you will, diamond in the rough. Nobody thought at all going into Tuesday that Jinder Mahal would be the number one contender for the championship. So it kind of took everybody off track of wait, what happened? And we're like, when the dust settled, we're like, all right, I dig it. Yeah, of course, you got the trolls online that are just going to shit all over it, but it's unique. It's definitely Jinder is definitely probably in the best shape that he ever has been in the WWE. I know some people were making fun of him, saying he's using steroids and all this and that, but he's been saying that he's been clean, working out every day. They could test him for all he cares. But this is great. Randy Orton actually had an interview a few years ago saying that he was really hoping that they would push Jinder Mahal to see what he had, because he's got a look. He's definitely a heel every time he's been in the ring. He hasn't really played that babyface role, but he fought Finn Balor last week. Now this week he's the number one contender. Well, change is good. I'm definitely digging this change. SmackDown is definitely taking some of these guys we thought were just going to be B players and actually turning them into stars. So there's something definitely happening over at SmackDown that we're not realizing.
And let me just say something to the haters real quick. I mean, with the right supplementation, the right dieting, and the proper amount of training, there's no reason why you can't look that good. The guy is ripped, and he's doing it the right way, hopefully. And you know what? The only people who are really saying that are the fat, lazy, out-of-shape sweat hogs who are sitting on mommy and daddy's couch and won't get their ass in the fucking gym.
You know, Jinder has been given like that second opportunity at life, if you will. He had an okay gimmick when he started, then it kind of went down the tubes into the 3MB, and it was kind of hokey. He left or was released, came back, has that new, you know, it's like he was born again, if you will. So I think he took that step as, you know, fuck it, I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to show them, like, look at me. I can be as good as any one of these guys on TV, looking good, in shape. And, you know, I think this is great. I think, you know, it's like that second chance at life, right, at the WWE. So I really hope they take that ball and run with it, because it's definitely different, and especially WWE's India audience. You know, there's a lot of people over there in India, so they need that. You know, they need that kind of character on there. So I think it'll be great.
It's the second highest populated country in the world behind China. It's ridiculous. Why would you not want to get into that market? It's the smartest move they've done in a long time.
Yeah, and the Bollywood boys, too, aren't the Bollywood boys anymore. I believe they're called the Singh brothers now. I could probably be saying that right or butchering it, but it's Singh.
No, you're right. It's Singh, yeah.
Yeah, the Singh brothers now, so that's cool. The Bollywood gimmick was okay, but it was kind of hokey too, but it's kind of interested to see what they're doing. I mean, hey, I want to tune in Tuesday now to see what's going on, so I'm interested, and I think that's the whole point of it, right?
There you go.
Guys, how about this ring collapse? I want to get your thoughts on this because, you know, don't get me wrong. I love these ring collapse spots. They've done it a handful of times. I don't think it's been overly done, and it's been done with the right kind of guys. But this was a little bit unique. I don't think anybody saw this coming because, you know, watching this whole show, I was kind of wondering why they had those ring posts, the old school ones, and not like the big ones that they were using. So I didn't even think that they would have the ring collapse. But, you know, the one thing that happened out of this is that out of all the ring collapses they've had with Brock and Big Show and Mark Henry and Big Show, whatever, Braun got up after this and stood tall. You know, talk about making somebody look strong. They are definitely making Braun look like a beast. What are your thoughts, guys?
I'll tell you something right now. I saw it coming. Reason why I saw it coming is the whole night I'm sitting down and I'm wondering, why don't they have the LED boards? Like, why aren't the ring apron? Why isn't it lighting up? Why is this a regular apron? Why are the posts, there's normal metal poles? I didn't understand it. And then when they announced that it's going to be Braun versus Big Show, I'm like, here it is. There it is right there. It's happening, because they're not going to do it if they have the LED boards on, but they set it up perfectly. And I thought it was cool the way it was done. I mean, granted, we've seen this is the third time we've seen it in WWE, and a lot of people were complaining about that. I thought it was pretty cool. Rest in peace, Mike Cohn, or John Cohn, excuse me, referee John Cohn is now no longer with us because he literally plunged to his death outside that ring. I don't know if you saw the distance he cleared.
What a hop off that. That was nuts. That was good.
I thought it was cool. I mean, has it been done before? Yes, but what hasn't been done before? If you've seen one cage match, are you going to complain that we've seen 1,000 cage matches? All right, shit breaks once in a while, like the way I break your guys' balls. It's not the first time it's going to happen. It happens on a, semi-regular basis. So like Mike said, it's the third time in history we've seen it. I don't remember the second one. I mean, I remember the Big Show Brock Lesnar one, which was classic, and this one was great. What was the second one?
It was Big Show and Mark Henry.
That's right.
And then the crazy thing,
too, though.
The crazy thing about that match is that happened before the main event of a pay-per-view. So the next match was Cena versus Del Rio for the WWE title, and they had to wrestle in that ring like that.
That was hard. I remember watching that. I'm like, what? Why would they do this then? But yeah. Anyway. Interesting time for rings being broken, guys. But, I mean, after all this is said and done, Braun has been becoming a beast. I've been loving the kind of push. Another guy who kind of started from, one of the rosebuds, and now he's like one of these dominant characters on Raw, which is great. Didn't see that one coming either after a while, but now it's in full effect. But at the end of the day, guys, how he's been built up as this beast. I mean, the guy stood up tall. The only guy to stand up tall right after a ring being collapsed was Braun Strowman, and now how do you have Roman Reigns go over him? How do we get this beast beaten, if you will?
I literally wanted to ask that to you guys because on one hand, you have Roman Reigns who allegedly has retired The Undertaker, and now we have Braun Strowman who is just running through everybody, and it's been fun to watch. It's been amazing TV. Him on the mic is hilarious. It's believable. Him in the ring, he gets better and better every week. And Vince, this is the guy I think they need to be pushing because, all right, you have this hard-on for these big guys. That's why you put the belt on Brock Lesnar. This is why you're pushing Roman Reigns. But you have a legit big man that the people are actually behind. And Vince will still try to cram Roman Reigns down our throat. So all this building of Braun is just really so we can make Roman look even stronger. And that's unfortunate because Braun is stealing the show every fucking week.
You know what's funny? I can compare this to how all right, for example, so Braun right now, he's the most over person I feel right now on the roster, on the Raw roster. And what they're trying to do is kind of backfiring. It reminds me of Austin and Bret Hart when Austin was the heel and they were trying to get him over as the heel and get Bret over, but the crowd was more attracted to Austin pulling all these crazy stunts and doing all the heelish things that it got to a point where there was a double turn. I'm not saying there's going to be a double turn coming up, but I kind of compare it to that in a way.
What's interesting is what's going to happen when we see Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar in the ring, because Brock Lesnar had his ass handed to him by a 50-year-old guy in how many seconds? There's no way you're going to tell me that Braun's going to be able not to beat up Brock the first time they meet. I think this is really just building up to get that belt off of Brock. I don't know. I mean, I don't see him losing anytime soon. Like, he has to stay this monster, I think, almost until like a SummerSlam or WrestleMania. Like, he just needs to keep winning. I don't know how you end his undefeatable, beastness. I don't know what to fucking call it.
God, I remember the Royal Rumble last year when Lesnar went to clothesline him, and he took like 2 or 3 of them. Or some shit like that. And you could just see, like, Brock getting pissed because it's like, motherfucker, you should go down. And that last one, he just, like totally just went right through him. It's like, you're going down on this one, motherfucker. So it's like, maybe Braun's got a little bit of a receipt for Brock. That would be kind of interesting. But I don't know if Brock is really the kind of person you want to test, Braun. I'm just saying. But you kind of owe him one. I'm just saying that because that clothesline was like a hammer coming down on you, bro.
Now, I guess we're in that transformation era because, I mean, from Jinder Mahal, Braun Strowman, guys, I'm finally happy to announce that the Colognes are the Colognes again. No more Los Matadores, no more Shining Stars. We finally have the Colognes back to who they are.
Fuck, I just bought the timeshare.
And, minus Rosa Mendez, unfortunately, but still. I'm happy about this. I mean, like, they've been stuck in the hokey land for so long. It's a shame, especially their name. I mean, from their dad being such a mega superstar, big name wrestler, to them like hiding in the shadows that wasn't their father. Carlos the Clone wasn't their dad. So I hope this even makes the return for Carlito, because now we could have Carlito team up with them. Maybe get some more triple man matches. But anyway, I'm just happy. I'm just happy to finally see the Colognes back to their name, and then just no hokey things, just wrestling.
See, you were complaining about them as a team for so long with the timeshare shit and then the Puerto Rican bullfighters thing. I mean, you have had a hard-on for these so you finally give them a good gimmick and you're happy again. And you know what? We're going to try to do the exact same thing for your boy. Maybe one day you can learn to appreciate. Come on, say his name.
No.
Say his name. Say his name.
What is this? What's happening here?
You know who I'm talking about.
You tell me.
I can't think of
his name.
Just don't say it 3 times.
Yeah, what's his fucking name? I seriously forgot. Like, I'm drawing a blank here. It happens sometimes.
James Ellsworth.
There we go. James Ellsworth. God damn it. God, sorry. I've had one fucking...
Is he real? Is like that shadow that Carmella casts really that big over him that you forgot who he was?
Seriously, I just had a brain fart. It happens, dude. I'm getting old and shit, all right?
Well, I happen to like the new attitude of the Colognes. I think they need a new theme song. They're still using the theme music from the Shining Stars. They need something a little more, I don't know, non-stereotypical of Hispanics, but something good.
What's the matter? You got something against reggaeton there? Come on now.
I live freaking reggaeton every day. Come on. I'm Puerto Rican myself. I got to listen to it all the time, unfortunately. But I watched their promo on Talking Smack, and I thought it was very good. You know, they meant business. It wasn't no hokey fun. Let me sell you a timeshare. They said they're there to win the tag titles. They brought up a point that they beat the Usos at WrestleMania 28 for the tag titles, and they're going to beat the Usos again
on the pre-show.
Yeah, they'll probably end up on the pre-show. But you know, I'm going to see, just like with the whole Jinder Mahal, I'm going to see where this goes.
Definitely. Well, a lot of change happening on SmackDown. I mean, a lot of change for good. And guys, I've heard this through the grapevine. Everybody's talking about it. That Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis might be a SmackDown bound. They've apparently been at the past few shows backstage. I think he's going to probably be another guy that skips NXT and goes straight to the main roster type deal. Carl Anderson did it. Maybe Mike Bennett can do it now with Maria. I mean, Maria does have that I've already been in the WWE stance of being a diva and that name notoriety with WWE fans. A lot of the casual fans out there might have no idea who Mike Bennett is, except for all those smart marks out there. But, I mean, still, guys, if this does happen, is it a good surprise to where, hey, we're being surprised on the main roster that we don't have to run him through the gauntlet of NXT down there? You know, he knows how to wrestle American style or however you will, WWE style. You know, he's wrestled in TNA. He's wrestled all over the place. So, I don't know. I'm kind of excited. I hope they use him well if he is used. But good or bad, guys, that he's not going down to NXT first. That will get a surprise.
I think it's bad. I mean, he's a great talent. Don't get me wrong. But what NXT has always been very good at is building characters. And that's what, you know, WWE is all about. I mean, it is sports entertainment. So he's very, very gifted in the ring. And again, you do have that name recognition with Maria, like you said. But is he going to get lost in the shuffle if they don't have something clever to back him up character-wise? That's the only thing I worried about, because when you have a guy like Kurt fucking Hawkins.
And Zack Ryder, right? Edgeheads or something like that, right?
Yeah, Kurt Hawkins, classic example, who's going to be doing jobs for the rest of his life on WWE TV because he's got no character. It's not to say that he's not good in the ring, but his character is shit. He goes in there, cuts a stupid promo, gets his ass kicked. What's the point? I mean, I really, he's a talent that really should not be misused.
Yeah.
I got to agree with you 110% on that, and simply because of the fact that, like, you took the words right out of my mouth when you brought up Kurt Hawkins. I was going to bring that up because when the trades went down, I felt like it went like jobber for jobber, where Ginger was the Raw jobber, went over to SmackDown, and then you had Kurt Hawkins go over to Raw, and then now all of a sudden Jinder is getting a push, a title run. So now they need a SmackDown jobber. They don't have a jobber. So I feel like Michael Bennett, you know, as talented as he is and as awesome as Maria is with that beautiful ass.
That breathtaking hiney. It's breathtaking.
I hope they don't hide it like they did in TNA. Put him down in NXT where he can develop as a top heel and then bring him up. Because if they put him on the main roster right away, we could be seeing a Kurt Hawkins in the making.
Absolutely. And then that's the other thing, because the smart marks down in Florida, well, you think that the casual fan, they watch NXT, so they see that crowd reaction, and they see how they react to him. That's why Nakamura is getting the fanfare up on the main roster now, because there are people who watched the network, who saw him on NXT, saw that character built, saw how that crowd reacted to him. They want to be just like the Full Sail crowd.
Yeah, well, I mean, with all this experimenting going on from Jinder Mahal, the colognes, reinventing things going on, now with Kevin Owens kind of doing that, the U.S. title challenge, almost like what Cena was doing on Raw, but a little bit different since he's a heel. It'd be kind of interesting to see if they do bring him in to maybe feud with Kevin Owens. But yeah, I mean, everything's is up in the air right now, and I guess they're just trying different things out. But at the end of the day, guys, I'm sure you probably didn't want to talk about this, but we got to talk about it. Impact has just announced that they're merging with Global Force Wrestling. Global Force Wrestling, who never made it off the ground, just been taunting themselves and teasing it for years and years, and they could never quite get the deal with anybody. So they're finally merging with Impact. Jeff Jarrett announced, and there's also a partnership with AAA to where guys on Lucha Underground could possibly appear on Impact Wrestling. Guys, could any more companies merge with Impact Wrestling for people to watch? I mean, how many more companies do we need to merge with it until, I don't know. You still need a good TV deal, and they don't even have that good TV deal anymore, so it doesn't really matter how many
blockbuster announcement.
So, guys, now we got GFW and AAA kind of working a deal with Impact Wrestling. Why? What's happening?
Another blockbuster announcement. You know why they're partnering with other companies? Is that they're kind of hoping that those other companies can help pay their talent. That's what the fuck this is all about. Come on. I mean, hey, let's have AAA come on there. We'll have their guys on our TV show because we're the ones not paying them. AAA has to pay them. It's a great way to hide the fact that you can't afford to pay your fucking talent.
Now, guys, I don't know if you knew this. I don't know if the listeners knew this, but I was recently blocked by TNA Wrestling on Twitter. So I don't get the breaking news from TNA because a lot of the stuff comes from, I'm assuming, their social media account, because I don't think there's nobody out there that wants to really cover this stuff breaking wise. I mean, they'll cover it maybe a couple days later, and it's not important. I knew the Global Force Wrestling thing was going to happen because Jeff Jarrett's always on there, and now that they said that Jeff is back in management, I saw that coming. I do got to say, though, AAA, it's a smart move to get AAA involved. Now, I'm going to say this right now. In a year, AAA is probably going to be suing TNA because everybody does. But it's a smart move on TNA's part because there are guys in that Lucha system that are good, like Pentagon Jr. He got over because of the show Lucha Underground, and now he's like ridiculously booked all over the place, and he's amazing, that character. And they're going to bring in Johnny Mundo too, which, as much as I don't really care for Johnny Mundo, guy's an amazing. Or you got a Brian Cage, another Lucha star. Those guys are coming in. I mean, even Sami Callihan is signed with Lucha Underground. We all know who Sami Callihan was. He was the hacker in NXT, but that guy is amazing in the ring. So they're bringing in these new crops of people. I think they will screw it up, though, because I see them doing a stupid invasion angle that they did last year with Global Force, and they did a couple years ago with the ECW crap that they did. So, I mean, let's just take this with a grain of salt. Let's not give our hopes up of how good it is. It's probably going to get damaged in the long run.
All the other news that we did, there's a lot of other news happening outside. Mike, what can you tell us of what's happening outside WWE?
All right, guys. So if you're in the New York City area this coming weekend, try to make your presence felt in Queens, New York, because one of the best indie promotions are going to be there all weekend long. I'm talking about Evolve 82 is happening at Laboom Nightclub in Queens, New York this Saturday night, April 22nd. Key matches you want to look out for on this card. You got the newly crowned WNN champion, the King of Bros, Matt Riddle, defends his title against Timothy Thatcher. I'm going to go on record right now, guys, and tell you that this match is probably going to be a contender match of the year. Riddle and Thatcher have amazing chemistry in the ring together. I mean, they're two guys that wrestle a lot, but every time they wrestle, it gets so much better. So look out for that match. You also got Zack Sabre Jr. versus Drew Galloway. We all know him as Drew McIntyre right now, but he's finishing up his indie contract. This is his last run with Evolve Wrestling. Then you have a last man standing match between Darby Allin and Ethan Page. Now, this feud between Darby Allin and Ethan Page has been going on for a while, and if you guys aren't familiar with the Evolve product, Darby Allin is the little engine that could. He's this little guy who just keeps losing, but he keeps coming. He's so persistent, and it's like one of those annoying little things that Ethan Page has to beat the shit out of every match. And they do have great chemistry, but he just literally beats the shit out of him, puts him in a body bag, and all of a sudden he's back from the dead. So this is probably the last time. It's one of those. It's like one of those persistence things. So this is going to be their last match. It's a last man standing match. It should be good. Just when you thought Evolve was done, they're not over yet, guys, because Sunday night, April 23rd, the following night, Evolve 83 comes to Brooklyn, New York. The key matches on that card is going to be for the Evolve Championship match. We got Zack Sabre Jr. defending the Evolve title against Leo Rush, who's a young up-and-coming guy. He's a small dude, but the guy can go in the ring. You also have an I Quit match with Matt Riddle versus Drew Galloway. That's probably going to be Drew Galloway's goodbye to the Evolve product because he's finishing up his indie contracts. He's got a couple more matches through the month of April before he officially says goodbye to the indie promotions and makes his full-time get-up in NXT. Last week we talked about Ring of Honor and we talked about their War of the Worlds pay-per-view. The event is so big that they have to do a second night. And they're actually going to do a night in Toronto, War of the Worlds Toronto with New Japan Pro Wrestling. For the main event for War of the Worlds Toronto, they just announced a 6-man main event. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, the Elite versus Ring of Honor World Champion Christopher Daniels, Kazarian, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Now, people who aren't familiar with the New Japan product, Tanahashi is the John Cena of New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's the Super Cena. He's their guy they go to for big matches. You know, it's not Big Match John, it's Big Match Tanahashi. So that should be a great card. Other news, it's pretty sad. We talked about last week, Shibata was hospitalized through an intense match he had with Okada where he developed a subdural hematoma in his head. That came from a nasty headbutt spot, and it's not looking good for him right now. What was said is at one point he had suffered partial paralysis, and he couldn't move one side of his body. But he recently regained the feeling back, and he also regained his memory back. 90% chance, doctor says, that he will never be cleared to wrestle again. So it's sad news for a guy like Shibata. I mean, he goes out there and gives it his all, but it's these headbutt spots that they do in Japan that I'm truly against. I mean, if go on YouTube, watch this headbutt spot. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but if you hear the thud and all of a sudden Shibata's standing there and you just see the blood start pouring, it's pretty nasty. So I hope that he has a very speedy recovery, and I hope that one day he'll wrestle again. But this is a brain injury that could potentially return if he's not careful. So I don't see doctors clearing him, unfortunately. So that is the big news that's happening outside the WWE.
All right, guys, but joining us right now, straight out of Dudleyville, we have none other than Sign Guy Dudley.
All right, joining us today is a man of many signs, a guy who's so outspoken he brought his feelings to the ring, wrote them down on signs, and shared them with the world. But today he's actually speaking to us. You might remember him as Sign Guy Dudley and Lou E. Dangerously, but in real life, he is Lou D'Angeli. Lou, thanks for joining us. How have you been?
I've been great. Your intro there is up there with an old school Joel Gertner intro. So yeah, I think you have a rivalry going there, maybe.
There you go. Yeah, I got to get the little rhyming down to it, but I try our best to give a little bit of an intro.
some rhyming and some non-PG words too would probably work out well also for you with him. So
definitely got to get the whole feel going in here. So, from what I remember, you started in the crowd holding some signs. You were chosen to work with the Dudleys. Can you take us back maybe to how it all began? Whose idea was it to bring you in as Sign Guy Dudley?
Yeah, it was super lucky, first of all. So let's just put it out there right now. It was a lot of luck. It was a lot of being in the right place at the right time. But it was also a lot of seizing an opportunity and running through a wall to keep it. I was a ringside photographer for ECW. I was a writer for the ECW Action Wire, which was the program that Gabe Sapolsky actually started for ECW. So him and I were like friends right away. He's the one who kind of gave me a break in the wrestling business to kind of let me even write for the program and then start doing photography. And I was still in college at the time that ECW got going. I just fell in love with it right away. And since it was based in Philadelphia, I lived in Philadelphia. It was just a natural for me to try to get there and try to do something more with it. So, I started writing for the program. I started shooting, photos and all that kind of stuff. And I had really long hair. And I had a beard, and it was the grunge era of the 90s, and that's what I looked like. And then the Dudleys came in, and I looked like one of the Dudleys. Specifically all of them, really. I mean, like the whole family. So it was Raven and a combination of Raven and Tommy Dreamer and Taz to a point as well that came up with the Dudley gimmick, but specifically the Sign Guy gimmick was Raven's doing as a way to kind of rid one of the guys in the crowd who was one of our diehard fans. And honestly, man, I thought it would last like 2 or 3 months, if that. I was just like, I was in it. I thought it was fun. It was a dream come true to be in the ring and be on TV and working with guys that I grew up watching and that kind of stuff. But man, it lasted a really long time. And it actually ended up being an anchor for my career. In that I found a lot of people go in the wrestling business and it's not stable. And I completely get that. I learned a lot of different sides of the business that helped me further my career outside of wrestling. So that's why I always call it an anchor, because it was like, it helped me get ground in the entertainment world, which is ultimately where I wanted to be.
Sure. Now, I've read that you mentioned that you worked with Tommy Dreamer and Taz training a little bit so that you didn't get killed out there. But did you ever want to train to be a wrestler, or was that managing side where you wanted to be, or, you just kind of fell into that and you liked where you were?
Yeah, I liked where I was because, I mean, to be real honest again, it's like, I was given a spot as Sign Guy Dudley. After a couple shows, I was getting thrown around without any training. I was just kind of learning it on the fly. And it was Tommy Dreamer who pulled me aside and said, I have to teach you how to work, or I have to teach you how to take bumps. I have to do something to help you. Will you come to the wrestling school, which was the House of Hardcore? I don't think it was quite billed yet, but that's what it was. I'm not sure. But anyway, it was the school that Taz ran with Mikey, and eventually Bubba was there and everything like that. So, yeah, man, I started going there. But I learned how to do stuff that an old school manager would do in the 70s and 80s. And that was to get heat. And then also just had that part in the match where you interfere or you take a bump to pop the crowd because you're a heel or something like that. So he taught me to do all those things. I honestly never really wanted to be full-blown wrestler, just for a couple of reasons. First was I always liked the managers when I was growing up, Bobby Heenan, for instance, Paulie Dangerously, etc. And also the spot that I was given was like, it was moving in real time, and I didn't have years to train, to catch up. And that was another factor as well.
Sure. Now, ECW was definitely a diamond in the rough that definitely shaped the world of pro wrestling. You got to see that unfold right before your eyes. Can you take us back maybe to what it was like backstage at that time, to where people started watching you guys more than they were watching WWE or WCW at that time?
It was pretty awesome to be part of that, man. I mean, honestly, when I was writing for the program and doing the photography stuff, we used to go out on the streets of Philadelphia and ask people to come watch the shows so that we look like we had a full house for TV. So we'd give people free hot dogs and soda to do that. So we went from there to, the Barely Legal, which was celebrated, last week is 20 years ago that Barely Legal took place, which is insane to me. But being part of that, and when you really start catching on and when things really start happening, and all of a sudden houses were going up. The word of mouth was so strong for us. And that was in an era where the internet really wasn't big at all. I mean, Prodigy was kind of it, maybe AOL, so it wasn't like it is today. But it was awesome. It was unbelievable. I mean, there's a comparison I give whenever I'm asked, but I really feel this way, that we were to wrestling what Nirvana was to music. We just changed the landscape completely. And none of us knew in that moment that was happening. And that's why when I look back now, man, I'm still blown away. I'm still blown away that we had that much influence on everybody. It's insane.
There was a lot of Dudleys too. There was Big Dick Dudley. There was you, Sign Guy, Bubba, Devon. Joel Gertner was part of the mix. I think there was even a Dances with Dudley. Was there any plans to just keep growing Dudleyville, or was it like, okay, guys, we got enough of Dudleys in there? I don't know. Was there any? I don't know.
Yeah, no. I think initially, I mean, there was Chubby Dudley. You said Dances with Dudley. There was Little Snot Dudley. I actually think you forgot Spike Dudley, but maybe I didn't say.
Yeah.
He was a huge factor with the Dudley clan. No, initially it was strictly comedy, and there was a lot of different ideas. I don't remember all of them, but I mean, I do remember that it was going to eventually just keep growing and growing and growing. But then what happened was, Bubba and Devon just clicked. Bubba started getting over as a babyface at the time. Devon was a heel, and then once they start working together, I mean, you've seen what happened, in the last 20 years with those two guys. It's been unbelievable. So yeah, there were absolutely plans for different Dudleys and that kind of stuff. I think it all just kind of went away when the act became like a serious act and became a money drawing act and a real thing. So, I mean, I was there the night that Bubba became Bubba, and the different ideas they had for him were all over the place. So I presume every idea they were pitching at Bubba to become Bubba eventually would have been a Dudley if we had kept going. So there was a lot.
Sure. Now, you went kind of from a little bit of a comedy, but the Dudleys would draw so much heat anywhere they went. One example I remember right here in our backyard at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie, New York, the Dudleys pissed the crowd off so much that fans started charging the ring, which was stupid on their part because they got their asses handed to them. But, was it like that everywhere you guys went to? Because I know Bubba and Devon would just taunt the crowd and really piss them off. And, man, some of these fans just, I don't know, they didn't get it. They definitely didn't understand it. But was it like that everywhere, though, on the road, maybe just all the heat you guys were drawing at that time?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't even, Poughkeepsie was kind of tame compared to the other things we experienced, especially like in New Orleans or Baton Rouge, and in Queens was really bad. I mean, we had some hairy situations in a lot of different cities. Buffalo was really bad also, as I'm thinking, a bunch are coming to my mind. So it was a lot, but yeah, it was pretty harsh, man. It was, there were definitely times that, we got walked out of the building with security and that kind of, or me specifically, or Joel or something like that. I think Bubba and Devon and Big Dick can handle themselves. But I was asked a question recently if I was ever scared in the ring, and I wasn't, because I was in the ring with the toughest guys in the locker room too. So, or two of the toughest guys in the locker room. So it was, but yeah, man, it got hairy a lot of times, but you know what? That just means it was working. I specifically remember the night we broke Beulah's neck in New Orleans, and I thought we were going to get killed leaving the building. I thought we were dead. It was so outrageous, but that was old school, man. That you just don't see that today.
Sure, yeah.
So, and I actually think ECW was kind of the last territory that did that kind of stuff, that really pushed the envelope. And because of that, man, it was awesome. It was amazing to be part of. It was definitely scary, but we accomplished what we were going for.
Sure. And do you still keep up with any the Dudleys today? Bubba, Devon, Spike, or Joel, or anybody?
I just saw Bubba. We had dinner a month ago. He was in Las Vegas, where I live. I think he was here for Ring of Honor, so I saw him. And I saw Devon, who is now a producer with WWE, which I'm sure you guys know. He was here for Monday Night Raw. I guess it might have been 2 months ago now. So I brought my 8-year-old daughter to backstage. One, I wanted to see him because I hadn't seen him in a while, and two, she has now stumbled across pro wrestling, and she got to meet some of the people she really likes too. So I do keep in touch with those two. Joel and I absolutely do as well. Not so much anybody else though from the Dudley clan, and not for any other reason. We just don't. hear from each other, but there's no issues or anything. So
sure,
all good.
Yeah. Now, what were your thoughts about them too returning to WWE last year for a little bit of a run? I mean, does it surprise you that after all this time they kind of came back full circle back to the WWE and just returned as the Dudley Boys? Because I know they were down in TNA and doing their little stint of Bully Ray and all that. But what was it like to see the Dudleys on TV? I mean, one last time.
I thought it was awesome. I really do. Those guys have had an amazing history. And I think, and look, I started watching some of that stuff again because, or some of Monday Night Raw, that is, because of them. And seeing them back in the ring and seeing them work with the new tag teams there, I think really was good. I think it helped everybody, and it probably served the purpose that they were there for, which was to help others, which at this point in their career, I know they're really big into that. So I think it was awesome.
Great. Now, after the Sign Guy ran its course, we saw you turn into Louis Dangerously. What initiated this, and did you like doing this better than Sign Guy?
What initiated it was I legitimately would wear my hair in a ponytail backstage sometimes, and people would come up to me if they didn't see my face and they just saw me from behind, and they would call me Paul because we looked so much alike. Like, it legitimately happened. I remember it was Axl Rotten and Johnny Grunge, who we've lost, but those were some of my funny memories of those two guys. They used to come up to me and they would think it was Paul, and they turned me around and be like, Jesus, it's not Paul. So it started there as kind of a joke. And then, like, when I knew the Dudleys were going to WWE and I wasn't, which was fine, and I was staying in ECW, I actually was staying there, and I was starting to learn more of the business side of it. So what I mean by the business side of it was being a promoter and doing all these other things, booking the building, selling tickets, which is my career now. So, I mean, it was like I was learning a different side of the business. And then Tommy and I always would kid around about Louis Dangerously. And one night, Louis Dangerously had an in-ring tryout, to actually see if it would work. And it was only the second time I'd ever done a promo on a mic, and it was at the ECW Arena, which is the hardest place to get over. It was at the top of the show with Joey Styles, so it was super high pressure. It literally was positioned to me as an in-ring tryout. So if it didn't work, no problem. You still had a job backstage, but on screen was done. But it worked, and it worked really. It was really fun. I would have liked. There was a lot of stuff we did that never made TV and stuff like that, but there was a lot of really good stuff that did. But we had a lot of fun with it, man. It was a total ride, making fun of Paul, but also, I mean, I looked up to Paul a lot too. So, especially when I was learning the business side. So it was interesting, to say the least. But I didn't like, at the end of the day, I think Sign Guy Dudley is absolutely what's more remembered because of the history of the Dudleys. And honestly, they both served an equal amount of purpose to me when I look back on it. So there was none that I liked doing better or anything like that. They both had a purpose for what they were needed for.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned before, like, how ECW was like the Nirvana, if you will. ECW was definitely a special time for fans. It felt like it was going to a rock concert than it did to see just a normal wrestling show. What do you feel maybe was like that magic ingredient in all that to make all these elements, either from the fans, the superstars, just something different that, for everyone to enjoy? I mean, it was totally... I can't express this. No, you know what I mean? It was
I do, and it's very hard to put into words. But what it was obviously very passionate fans, and unlike anything you'd ever seen in pro wrestling, and honestly, I don't think we've ever seen it since. At the same time, it was a very, very passionate and hardworking crew of men and women that wanted to lay it all on the line every night, whether if there was a camera there or not, if there was 50 people in the crowd or 3,000 or 4,000 people in the crowd or whatever. You combine all those things, and it made for an amazing product. I mean, if you had ever been to a Nirvana concert, it's the same type of thing. They just go out, they'd kick everyone's ass, and everyone wanted their ass kicked, and that's what we did.
Couldn't say it better. Now, do you still keep up with the business at all today? To where, I mean, with the 10+ hours a week of wrestling there is from every station and whatnot, do you watch any of it at all now?
Yeah, I don't watch it as much as I once did. I watch it a lot now, really, because my daughter is so into the women of WWE, which I think is amazing. I think those girls have done amazing things in pro wrestling, and I have no issue at all with my daughter watching that because they're saying a good message. They're also really good people. I mean, which I think helps a lot too. But to me, that part is really interesting. They've taken the whole TNA thing and thrown that away and just go out with athletes. And I can't say enough good things about them, but that's who I want my daughter to see too. So my engagement with it is kind of limited on that basis. Honestly, being at the show a couple months ago when I was telling you about when we saw Devon and everything like that, it was kind of strange. You know what I mean? It's weird to step back in that world even for like a little bit. But look, I know the business is due for some changes and due for some, I don't want to call a revolution because that's a played out term, but it's something more than what it is right now. And that's not a knock against WWE. WWE is doing exactly what they should. They're making a lot of money. They're continuing to gain more and more exposure in different ways, and their model is proven successful. I just think there's other things that can happen in pro wrestling around that.
Yeah, not to be cliche with this question, but did you ever wish you did anything different with your time in the business? I mean, is there anything after your time was done? Was it always like, oh, I wish I really tried this out, or I don't know?
Yeah, you know what? It's two things. One, I wish I'd listened more. And then when I say that, I wish I had listened to, like I said earlier, when we were in the moment in 1998 or 1997, when ECW was at its prime, and even before that a little bit too, it's like none of us knew that 20 years later it'd still be a thing. Like the fact that I'm doing this interview with you still blows my mind, but I get it. And I wish I had listened to the advice that was being handed out in those moments about the business in general. Because I didn't. I listened as much as I could, but I wish I had paid a little bit more attention or been a little bit more of a student of the game. Like, a good example is like what Gabe is doing or what Tommy Dreamer did at the time, where these guys were doing their thing, but they learned every facet of it. I learned how to be a promoter. That helped me in my career afterwards, which was huge. And the second piece was I wish I had actually enjoyed the time a little bit more. It was super stressful because, I, for the first few years, was not trained. I was getting trained on the spot. I was also given a spot, which people would kill for. So I had to keep that spot, and I did whatever I could to do that, which was work really hard. Which also, obviously, you appreciate moments that you're in, but sometimes I wish I appreciated them a little bit more.
Are you into the social media universe? Where can fans keep up with you today?
Yeah, I mean, Twitter is at L D'Angeli, which is LDANGELI, and Instagram is Lou_D as in dog ANGELI. Both of those are perfect.
Perfect. Well, Lou, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate the time, and hopefully we'll speak with you down the road.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Today's show is brought to you by...
This is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to another wrestling podcast in association with Celeb VM. Order a personal video message from me and many other wrestlers and celebrities now. Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Get a personal video message for yourself or as a gift for someone else. For personal connections, shout-outs, birthdays, proposals, weddings, and much more. Enter your details about yourself so the celebrity can record a personal video message especially for you, including details such as your name, age, birthday, hobbies, or whatever else you include. As soon as the video has been recorded, you'll get an email with your link so you can share it on social media or download and keep it. Celebrities record videos as and when they can, usually within 2 weeks. But if you want a video for a specific date and it does not look like it will arrive in time, you can cancel it and get an instant refund at the click of a button. There are hundreds of celebrities to choose from and many more joining every day. Search by category or genre. Buy a gift voucher, get updates and offers, and encourage your favorite celebrities to join so they can connect with fans in a fun and unique way. Raise money for their charities and much more. So order your video now for yourself or for someone else.
Celebrity video messages and another wrestling podcast team up. Be sure to head on over to celebvm.com/AWP.
Promo of the week.
You had your first time where you and Randy got face to face in there tonight. Mm-hmm. What were you feeling? You feel
I felt like I'm going to take his championship. No,
That's
very
it.
confident.
Okay.
Yeah, I know how hard I worked. I know what I'm capable of.
But it's different, and
No, it's not
sometimes being in there competing, I can say that you look in someone's eyes and you get a whole different vibe.
No, I see fear in his eyes. He knows that I'm a threat. He knows I'm younger than him. I'm faster than him. I'm in better conditioning than him. I'm in better shape than him. He should have every reason to be nervous of me. Why would I be nervous of him?
I was just asking the question.
Randy Orton looks like he keeps in pretty peak performance shape all year round.
I got to give it to him. Yes, he does. But you know what? He's at the top of the mountain, and there's only one place to go for him. They say a crocodile is most vulnerable after he eats. I'm like a shark that's hungry and just got a taste of blood for the first time. So Randy Orton should be very worried.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me just break this down for you real quick. This is the must-see matches. We'll call this the Angry Cooter mixtape of matches. So this week, Raw, for some odd reason, I felt I had to pick the Fatal 4-Way for the women. Mickie James, Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss, and Sasha Banks for the number one contendership. For SmackDown, I picked AJ Styles versus Baron Corbin. 205 Live, main event, TJ Perkins versus Austin Aries. And of course, if you didn't see this, you must see this on NXT. Ty Dillinger versus Eric Young in a steel cage match. Fucking fantastic. What a great way for Ty Dillinger to end his run in NXT. And that, bitches, is the Angry Cooter mixtape, the must-see matches of the week.
All right, guys. Well, each week we'll try to talk about some kind of different topic on here, something that's a little bit evergreen. So no matter if you're listening to episode 1 or 156, there's something you could find on here to listen about wrestling. Guys, one thing I don't think we really ever talked about is kind of booking pet peeves. I mean, a lot of people complain about the sport, and they have the right to. I mean, everybody's allowed to not like something. But, guys, the way they book some of the matches, I'm sure there's stuff that bothers you. There's stuff that bothers me. Maybe there's stuff out there that bothers you that you're listening right now. And if there is, just a quick plug, anotherwrestlingpodcast.com. Make sure you tweet us. Let us know what's bothering you. You see how I worked that in there?
That's nice.
But guys, let's try to talk about some of these pet peeves, if you will, about booking, because I know that wrestling, they have it down to a certain science, if you will, each and every week, but there's still some things that I don't think they really need to do all the time. Cooter, let me throw you under the bus. Give me one pet peeve out there that just bothers you when it comes to booking in general for wrestling. It doesn't matter whether it's WWE, an indie show, to anywhere. What's something that bothers you?
All right. Lately, in general, I've been noticing a lot lately for number one contender spots. We've been getting multiple competitors in a match. So we had a triple threat match for the number one contendership for the U.S. title. We just had a fatal 4-way for the number one contender for the women's SmackDown title. We had a 6-pack challenge for the number one contender for the WWE title. And it almost seems like after every pay-per-view for Raw or after a title match, we're getting, for 205 Live, multiple competitors in a match. Why can't we have just, all right, two guys who've kind of been on a run lately and have a string of victories go at it for the number one contendership? It's just, I see why they do that. They're trying to get more names out there, trying to get more people behind more competitors. But after a while, when you're doing it week in and week out, multiple times in the same episode, it's a little hokey.
I liked it when number one contenders matches felt like it meant something. Like in the Attitude Era, I remember The Rock and Triple H had that strap match.
Oh my God!
Determine the number one contender. Now, number one contender matches are on Raw, SmackDown. They're on TV for everyone could see. And it doesn't feel as special to me. Like, I want to see number one contender matches a part of a pay-per-view, because it for me, maybe people will disagree, that's fine, but it makes it feel so much more special. Like, I sound like a broken record, but that strap match for the number one contender, that was a classic match. I loved that match. It was a fully loaded 99, and the winner faced Austin at SummerSlam, which later on Mick Foley found his way in that match somehow. but it doesn't feel as special to me anymore, the number one contenders matches. Obviously, you do need number one contenders matches to establish a number one contender. But it really doesn't feel special anymore to me. I'd rather see them make it into a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what's weird though, Credo? We were talking about this. Is when you look at the people who were in that 6-pack challenge, you had Eric Rowan in there.
Mm-hmm.
You had a Luke Harper in there, and not to say that Luke Harper shouldn't be in there, but AJ Styles and Baron Corbin and Sami Zayn were for the U.S. title. You couldn't put them in the 6-pack challenge. I could or take those two out and maybe put a Luke Harper in there who looks more poised for a mid-card title. So that's the other thing with these multiple people in matches. You kind of got them all in weird spots.
Yeah. Okay, one thing that bothers me too, it's I think if you go back, and I think it's the second time I interviewed Jim Ross, he kind of brought this up. I kind of forget. I'm trying to think from memory, but there's not enough odd wins during the night. Now, hear me out. What I mean by that is, okay, just let's say Raw, for example. You got 3 hours, right? Let's say in those 3 hours, there's only 5 matches. Let's just say. I don't know. There could be more or less, but whatever. You have 5 matches on, and I feel like not every match needs to be a clean win. Everything I feel like needs to be different. Make it more, like spontaneous. Like, oh, I can't believe that happened this week, or this happened right here. To where odd wins, I mean by, oh, this guy was knocked out. This guy was counted out. This guy had a DQ. This one was a clean finish. I know going back to WrestleMania, Kevin Owens had the one finger on the rope. Like something silly like that. It still made that match stand out. So, I mean, just a variety of different ways of winning and losing throughout the night. I know you need a lot. You got to kind of make it more, I don't know, it's wrestling, so you got to have some clean wins. But I'm saying, change it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, give me more variety of these odd wins, whether somebody walks out, gets DQ'd, I don't know. Do we not see enough of these type of things to where I feel like sometimes it's just clean cut, 1, 2, 3 pin, 1, 2, 3 pin, 1, 2, 3 pin. Yeah, we'll have a DQ in here and there, but that's it. There's not a lot of variety, I guess, which is what I want to see. Something spontaneous, something to make it look more like anything can happen.
It's funny you say that, and I was actually thinking that, but lately they seem to have done that with Asuka down in NXT a lot, where, some nights, she gets a pinfall, but then there'll be those other nights where she just kind of walks up to the opponent and kicks her head off and she's knocked out. And the finish at their pay-per-view for NXT TakeOver in Orlando, where she pushed the ref into the rope, where, okay, now she'll do anything. So, but you're right. They don't do that with enough people. It is sort of a lost art in a way. I mean, if you could do that with such a great talent like her, I mean, and Kevin Owens, obviously, I mean, shit, there's so many people on that roster you could do that with.
A finish I really loved, and that was when Kevin Owens first won the NXT title. It was a TKO finish they rolled it as.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just kept beating the hell out of Sami Zayn, powerbomb after powerbomb, until it got to the point where the ref had to stop the match. I loved that. I haven't seen that since. You haven't seen it since that. I think that would be great, especially if you can use that with a guy like Braun or a guy like Brock, who can finish matches that way too, with TKO finishes.
Well, he did that to Randy Orton at SummerSlam, didn't he?
Yeah, no, you are right about that. You're absolutely right. He TKO finished Randy.
But so, just something like that bothers me. Mike, how about you? What's a pet peeve of the booking world that you hate?
I hate these pointless matches that are happening, especially right now. They have, we talked about it earlier, this House of Horrors match. Like, it's pointless. Rumors are, like we said earlier, it's going to be a non-title match. So why are we doing this match? Like, you sent Bray over to Raw to start a program with Finn Balor, but he still has to finish up with Randy Orton. And then you have Jinder Mahal being the number one contender, and the next SmackDown pay-per-view is until May 21st, or I believe it's sometime in May. And then you have the next Raw pay-per-view, which is June 4th. Like, it's all over the place. They're literally all over the place right now. I don't know what they're doing, and this type of stuff really pisses me off. All this booking, it's so bad right now. Like, they're unorganized. It's like they just took a bunch of stuff and threw it against the wall and just went with it. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I am more confused than ever. You have Bray feuding with Randy. You have Bray feuding with Finn. You have Randy about to feud with Jinder. You have Jinder doing nothing. I'm sorry, Jinder. This is good. This is the ongoing joke, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be going for a while. You have Jinder twiddling his thumbs until May 21st, because they announced that for Backlash. Then you have AJ Styles becoming number one contender. He's not getting that title shot until May 21st. But you have a pointless match happening with Jericho and Owens. I understand they got to finish the rivalry, but why? You moved him to the other brand. You moved Jericho, stayed there, and Jericho's going on tour, so we already know the finish, what's going to happen. I really hate the idea of booking. This is a pet peeve to me. It really is.
Why? Do you know why you have to have Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho?
Why?
Because of my most hated pet peeve, the rematch clause. That's why.
Yeah.
Jericho has to get his rematch. He lost the title at WrestleMania. You see, Mike, you're a mixed martial arts fan. Whenever somebody would lose the belt, especially if it was in some type of devastating fashion, you go to the end of the fucking road and you got to work your way back up to be a contender, to be a number one contender, and all that shit. It's very rare in mixed martial arts that they have an automatic rematch. I hate this rematch clause bullshit with a passion. And it's absolutely pointless. If Braun Strowman steamrolls through Brock Lesnar whenever they wrestle, and it's do we really need to give Brock Lesnar a rematch? Well, we probably don't, because he won't be around for another 4 months or so. But whatever, that's besides the point. You understand what I'm trying to say? Don't fuck with me on this one. I hate the fucking rematch clause.
Yeah, it gets so... They spread it out so much. Like, okay, you beat him for the championship. Good. You shouldn't get a rematch right away or something. Or maybe if they do just like one rematch, but it turns out to where it's like, okay, he gets a rematch, then he loses, then the other guy gets a rematch back. And it's just like nonstop for how many months, to where it's just like, okay, you won the title, now let the other guy work his way back up to get that championship, or just move on to another contender. And they just kind of played out too much, you know what I mean? To where we have wrestling on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week now, so it's like, how can we stretch these matches out more? And it's like they keep giving these rematches and rematches and rematches. And there's still guys who still have yet to get a rematch, like Kevin Owens for that Universal Championship and Finn Balor for his Universal Championship. So there's a lot of things they always skip over, the rematches you want to see, and then they keep giving you the shit you don't want to see. But how about overly used moves and finishers not finishing the show? I think last year WWE kind of cut down on that, to where at a pay-per-view, if you used your finisher, that was it. The guy didn't kick out. It was that one and done. You know what I'm saying? But before that, there was a point to where we'd get 5 finishers. The guy would do his finisher, kick out. The other guy would do his finisher, kick out, and then back and forth. We'd keep going on and on. It was like, all right, we get it already. And I think they've kind of moved on from that, but they've almost kind of brought it back a little bit here and there. But guys, does that piss you off to where a finisher isn't a finisher anymore?
Oh, totally. I remember they used to only do that at WrestleMania. And they'd maybe do it on one match, maybe 2 matches. And next thing you know, a couple years go by. Such a hot trend. Now we got people kicking out of 3 fucking finishers on 205 Live. Shit's fucking fantastic, man. Love that shit. Now guys need like 2 or 3 different finishers, because, all right, he's got to have a submission. He's got to have some other kind of bullshit move. Nobody ever kicked out of the tombstone, except for maybe Kane.
Well, even like super kicks. When Shawn Michaels left, it was like open season with super kicks. Like from the indies to the main roster, it was like, he's gone, now we can use it. And I'm like, that was like another thing to where overly using certain moves all the time to where that's a great finisher, but when you do it like 5 times in the match and then you have big guys doing like their own version of a super kick, I'm like, what's happening here? What's going on, you know?
Oh, God, probably the most overused finisher that has so many different variations got to be the DDT. And if you ask Jake Roberts, the only person who does it right is him.
I remember Austin went off on his podcast about the DDT, how that move used to put people to sleep. Now it has you kicking out at too. I mean, you and I, Cooter, we've had this discussion before about finishers and how it's starting to become overdone to a point where it's like when you finally get to those big pay-per-views, it doesn't get you on the edge of your seat like it normally would, because we've seen people kick out of these finishes before. It makes you think that, you know, these finishers that these guys are coming up with, they need to go back to the well and come up with some new stuff, because it's obviously not working if they're kicking out at 2. I mean, once again, but no one really has the weapon of mass destruction like the Big Show with one little tap of his bear claw and you're out cold. Except for Braun. Braun kicked out of it.
Man, pet peeves, guys. I mean, we talked about a few. Is there anything else on your mind about pet peeves? I think the only thing I could think of that just bothers me a little bit is the way they would book big guys today. I mean, guys like Big Show, guys like Braun Strowman, just real big beasts. Hell, even just Brock Lesnar, to where, you know, Andre the Giant would roll over in his grave if he saw the way these guys were being booked these days, to where guys like Lesnar should not be beat all the time. It should be like one of those rarities, like once a year kind of a thing or something. Or Big Show, man, he lost that status of being a giant long ago when, you know, Cena was picking him up every week all the time, you know, and just slamming him on the ground, and it's stuff like that, to where like big guys should be built as big guys, giants, undefeatable, and if you can't beat them, you know, maybe you can get them to count out, like a count out on them or a DQ on them or something, but just like stuff like that, to where big giants should be built unstoppable, unbeatable guys, and not guys that Cena picks up every match just for fun, you know?
Did you say Andre would roll over in his grave?
Yes.
I want you to know he was cremated, just saying.
Smart, Mark.
Yeah, all right. I was waiting for that joke. I really was. No, but you know, here's another one. The 3-man to 4-man announce team that has seemed to happen the last couple of years. I used to just love a good play-by-play man.
Yes.
And a color commentator. I mean, Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, probably still my all-time favorite ever. I mean, Gorilla wasn't the greatest play-by-play man, but his chemistry with Bobby was just so great that it really didn't matter. And then, I mean, you get your Jim Rosses and your Jerry the King Lawlers. Now...
it's like everybody's invited to the party.
Yeah, exactly. Let's put Percy Watkins as a 3rd man on NXT. Now we got David Otunga. And then we were all worried because of like, oh, God, we got Booker T covering for him. But you know what the sad part was? Booker T was actually pretty good this week.
Yeah, he was really good, actually. Yeah.
Really good, man. And I'm like, now, because they're like, well, if we put Booker T in there, people won't complain when David Otunga comes back. Now it looks like Booker T's angling for another fucking job, man. He's pretty good.
All right, guys. Well, I mean, we talked enough about booking pet peeves. Each and every week, you can find us at anotherwrestlingpodcast.com. Like us, follow us, subscribe to us. Tell your friends about us. Tell them to listen, you know. Last week we plugged our Twitter. Hey, we also have Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram at Another Wrestling Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at SCredo. Guys, are you on Instagram?
Of course. You can follow me on Instagram at Angry Cooter. That's Angry Kuter. Got some funny shit on there. I like to have a good time, you know what? Anything to get a laugh.
And you guys can follow me on Instagram at mcolone77. That's MCOLON 77. I'm always posting some dumb shit. And for the ladies, if you have a Snapchat, it's mcolone772. Send me your selfies and stuff like that. I can't guarantee I'll snap you back, but I will screenshot it.
Yeah, no cockpicks either, because he doesn't do that.
Zero. None of that stuff. Dudes, don't even add me on Snapchat. Just stick to Instagram. But if you're female and you got a Snapchat, mcolone77.
Hey, do people really send cock pics on Snapchat?
Mom, what the fuck?